And it is that time for Mr. Tact. And that stands for my response to a tweet. My response to a tweet. And today's tweet says, why won't Black Lives Matter understand that all lives matter? Why won't Black Lives Matter ever understand that all lives matter? What, this is I like this to be my wheelhouse because, the Black Crap Matters movement, the Black Lives Matter movement is probably one of the most asinine things I've ever seen in the history of protest. Because it is so intellectually dishonest. And it's not taking account of how smart and how much the American people can add, subtract, multiply. It's so amazing. And here's my response to this tweet. It's the difference between sound doctrine and sounds like doctrine. See, sounds like doctrine uses all the words of vocabulary and it sounds good. It sounds good emotionally. Sounds like doctrine is designed to get you involved emotionally. But sound doctrine has you break through that emotional thing and look at facts. Black Lives Matter functions under sounds like doctrine. It sounds good. They use all the cool little words to get you emotionally charged. But once you come off of that emotion thing and you say, "Aw," then the facts start to kick in. And then you go like this, wait a minute. Black Lives Matter, but you want me to be all upset because the white police officer killed an unarmed black man that was resisting arrest or whatnot. Hold on a second. And then they try to get you to say, no, that's injustice. And here's where this sounds like doctrine really starts to take a funny twist. They relate everything back to slavery. The injustices back in slavery. Everything back in slavery. The oppression of the black man back in slavery. And so when you come out and say all lives matter, they mark you a racist because they are believing that you're not emotionally staying connected back to slavery. But what they're missing from a sound doctrine perspective is that the people that you're talking to had nothing to do with slavery. We are not in slave times right now. So while your mind is still enslaved to where you're connecting back to slavery, the people that you're trying to get all connected and riled up with you with your sounds like doctrine, all your good, cool little black oppressed words, we're adding it up and we're going, hold on a second. Aren't you guys killing more of your kind than the white police? Or wait a second. If I do the math properly, there are more of you killing each other than there ever was in the history of slavery. And see, that sound doctrine starts to kick in. And so you have to get louder and louder with your sounds like doctrine. Here, I'm going to read something to you and show you what I'm talking about. This is the mayor in LA. Black Lives Matter just bombarded this dude. Now, these are all Democrats that these people are protesting and kicking them off stage, Bernie Sanders and all these people. Now, check out what the mayor says. He says, if you just say all lives matter, you write people out of history. You write slavery out of history. You write oppression out of history. You write racism out of history. And lynching. So I get why it's important. See, he's explaining why it's not okay to say all lives matter. Because they look at, when you say all lives matter, you're writing black folks out of history. But that sounds good. Sounds like doctrine. But here's the sound doctrine. If you don't say all lives matter, you're writing everybody out of history. You're writing the people that conducted slavery out of history. You're writing all people out of history because all lives matter. But here's the other aspect of your sounds like doctrine, to where I'm going to say your movement is Black crap matters versus Black lives matter. Because the part of history that you're staying connected back to, when you dismiss what's actually happening right now, you are participating in the history that's being created now. See, if you keep connected back to the past and try to make that a fact or sound doctrine of the present, you are negating the history that you're creating right now. Because you're focused on the white police officer because it fits your narrative of the white people that oppressed black people way back then, you're overlooking the 93% of your black people that are being killed by black people, which those numbers are overriding all the deaths multiplied by 5 of the history that you want to stay connected back to. So what do you think the history is going to say about this time that you guys are overlooking? And the reason why you're overlooking it, you ready? Because you know that you're not prepared intellectually, physically, spiritually, economically to take responsibility for what's happening to the black lives that should be mattering now. When you trade 0.04% of black people being killed by police officers, and you trade that, you keep that, but you trade 93% of black people killed by black people, and over 50-60% of black babies killed by Planned Parenthood, when you trade those high numbers for these little small numbers because it connects back to your way back slavery machine, you are a bunch of black retarded people running around trying to convince a very intelligent nation to be retarded like you. And so it's black crap matters. If you're so strong for the black people, you're so strong understanding history, then why don't you stop the history that you're creating right now by overlooking the fact that all these criminals that the Democrats have coached our babies into being through the music and the liberal ideology? Why don't you look at the history that you're negating right now? Because just in Chicago alone, by the end of this year, they will kill more than all of the slavery that you're trying to get us connected back to back then. That is not taking place right now. You're wasting your time with your sounds like doctrine, because sound doctrine will always defeat what you're saying. So if you want black lives to matter, take your interrupting, disrespectful, non-articulate, retarded sounding, idiotic selves and go into the communities from which you come from and get them brothers to understand Black Lives Matter and get more black people shaking hands versus more people getting shot with firearms in their hands. Go do that. And stop disrupting people campaigning, trying to figure out they're going to make this country better. Well, then again, keep protesting the Democrats because they just need to be shutting up, period. But the point is this. Until you understand that part of Black Lives Matter, stop trying to get everybody emotionally connected back to slavery, which does not exist. The oppression is coming from brothers oppressing brothers, sisters oppressing sisters. And the murder rate of black people is at the hands of black people and Planned Parenthood. Those are the white people that you might need to be protesting. And those house niggas that keep supporting them in the House and the Congressional Black Caucus, and you Black Lives Mattering people. Hey, that's my response to a tweet on the Phil Williams Show.